bless you. We're going to begin with opening roll call. Our chief of staff is going to be acting secretary for the evening, so he might go a little bit slower. But
Michael Ottinger. Here. Dustin Fish. Here. Ruth Kagaraja. Here. Mark Cannon. Yep. Dustin Dove. Here. Adam Ferrone. Pat Gordon. Nicholas Heim. Hubert Hines. Here. Andrew Karasik. Here. Gavin Cairns. John King. Arch representative. Here. That's what's on the roster. Ayla. Cool. Sam Loder. Here. Benji Lombard. Here. Stephen Lucas. Here. Haley Osborne. John Malloy. Samantha Miller. Here. Chris Morrell. Dave Amon. Christopher Knock. Present. Joanne Olson. Here. Greg Plum. Brian Poland. Kelly Potter. Megan Quinn. Christian Ragland. Here. Valerie Russell.
Present.
Amy Sanders.
Here.
Philip Slusser. Here. Richard Shemansky. Matthew Smith. Michael Smith. Here. Carla Torres. Ian Vickery. Michael Wallace. Cindy Wong. Here. Cole Meany.
Okay, moving on to the adoption of the. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, what was your name? Angle. Robin Angle. Can you add that? Sorry. Okay, moving on to adoption of the agenda. Any objections to the agenda? Okay, saying none, agenda is adopted. Moving on to adoption of the past general meeting minutes. Should have received those via email. As usual, Representative Lucas.
I just had an addition to the agenda. I had my hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see you.
I just wanted to add, under adoption of the agenda, singing happy birthday to Ralph Mandela.
Okay, can we do that in comments for the go of the order?
If we know the after midnight.
It's up to the assembly.
Well, what would you guys like to do?
Okay.
Okay, comments for the go of the order. I think Mr. Cabello would be more comfortable with that. Okay, adoption of the past general meeting minutes. Any objections? Okay, minutes adopted. Open student forum. Are there any students here to address the assembly? Nope. Moving on. Report by the president, Mr. Appearance.
What's up, guys? This Monday went really successful. I appreciate everybody coming out for the rally. If you weren't able to make it, not a problem, but we did have a really strong showing. Wanted to single out Andrew for really stepping up and getting the media involved. And Chris Knock for having a great picture on the cover conclusion. Well, I think the next step from here is that we're going to take the show on the road. It seems like I talked with the Temple student president today, and it's very likely that they're going to hold a rally this Monday. So if you guys are interested, once I have the details, which will hopefully be tomorrow, I'll let you guys know. And I'd like to kind of get everybody together, at least a good amount, and travel down to Philadelphia for the day. So we'll see about the logistics of that and what's going to happen with them. But like we did last week, basically, they're at point one today, similar to we were last week, trying to get everything going. They've had a couple meetings the same way we did at this point last week. So they're hoping for Monday, but they're optimistic for Monday, but they don't know yet. They said possibly Wednesday as well, and Wednesday probably won't work for us, but Monday, if that goes down, I'd like to kind of rally that up and get it moving forward. As far as the legal services front, I think that'll be talked about as well in the near future. I had a meeting today with George and Vice President Sims to kind of go over that and see how that's going to progress forward. And I am confident that we can make some strides and get that up, hopefully by next meeting. We'll basically need to decide by next meeting, because we also have to set the student activity fee on the 27th of February. So it's coming up real soon, and hopefully we get moving forward. Other than that, I think that's pretty much it. I know registration's coming up soon for elections, so I hope everybody's getting excited.
Questions? No questions? Okay, moving on. Special presentations. We do not have a Director of Transportation, Teresa Davis, but we do have the Assistant Director, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
What's your name again, sir? Doug Holmes, H-O-L-M-E-S.
Holmes, yes. Okay. Yeah, you can go to the front. All right, so we have 20 minutes for this.
Good evening. Thank you. As Valerie said, my name is Doug Holmes. I've been in Penn State since 1973. I got here as a student. Liked the place so much, I hung around for a while. I was a police officer. I'm a graduate of the Pennsylvania State Police Academy in Hershey. After about 10 years of that, I discovered that students, while I was getting older and slower and fatter, students were staying in the 18 to 22, 23-year-old age group. And while it's a very rewarding job to have, you start slowing down. You have kids, you want to have a life that's a little bit different. So a job in parking opened up, and I thought, how stressful can parking be? Turns out quite a bit, because everybody's an expert on parking. Everybody wants to park 5 feet from their doorway for free, and it doesn't work. It is a monumental logistics problem that never ends. It metamorphoses, but it never changes. Parking became involved with fleet operations about 12, 13 years ago, and I'm now part of Transportation Services. Transportation Services does a lot of things that interfaces with student lives. Parking. Anybody here have a car? Now keep your hands up. How many of you have a car, have it registered with our office? Not good. Quickest way to get your car towed, don't have a permit on it. Anyway, no more preaching. In addition to parking for faculty, staff, and students, we also deal with transit on campus. The forerunner to your organization several years ago decided to come up with a funding program to make the loop and link systems fare-free, so that every student can ride the loops, can ride the links, can ride the campus shuttle. And we've been working for years to improve upon that, both because of the green aspect and because it beats walking from the lower quad of East Falls when it's 30 below zero outside. In addition to transit, we have fleet. Fleet Operations acts as a national car rental service for university employees. We can deliver cars cheaper, better. We can control what our fleet is included, what it's made up of in terms of alternative fuel vehicles, hybrids, and we can, again, deliver a much better product with much greater level of convenience for the faculty and staff. Bicycles. We've recently inherited bicycles, and we've been working with the Center Region and other local governments to try and expand the bicycle routes around campus, to make sure that when they hit campus, they line up with anything that we have. We do use a combined streaming technique on campus because we just don't have a whole lot of roads to carve out separate bike lanes in, and because we're trying to remove as many vehicles from the core campus as we can, that serves to reduce the vehicle pedestrian motor vehicle, non-motor vehicle count. Environmental sustainability. We do a lot in that area, and we're expanding everything that we do just about every year. 20 years ago, we started a rideshare van pool program to allow employees to carpool together, save gas, save wear and tear on their individual vehicles, lower their insurance costs. And we had a van pool program where we bought vans, rented them to employees that lived in farther flung areas where a bus system might not be efficient because of the population densities being so low, and allowed them to carpool in a university van, in a 15-passenger maxi van. Both the rideshare and the van pool program in the last 2 or 3 years, last 2 years, have been turned over to CATA. We worked very hard with CATA. Our problem was we could match 2 employees of Penn State University together, but we couldn't get somebody that worked in the Allen Street Grill carpooling with someone that worked in Hammondville, just because we couldn't match them up. CATA, on the other hand, has the ability to match everybody in the center region, everybody in Center County, into one of these van pool or carpools so that they can save gasoline, save money, not each have their own individual parking permit, and share one. Ride for 5 is a program that came up for full-time employees. $5 a month, they can buy a parking or a bus pass, and it's tax it's deducted pre-tax from the paycheck. Bicycle program, that's something we've been working on very hard recently because we've not been doing what we feel is a good job. We're trying to recently a new plan of bicycle paths will roll out campus-wide. They'll probably become more visible in the spring. Alternate Rides is a service that we subscribed to beginning last fall that allows students to go out on the web and find ride shares, maybe to home once a semester, maybe to home on a once and done basis, maybe back and forth to campus on a daily basis. Again, trying to get that ability to save gas, reduce emissions, and make traveling to campus cheaper. We have an experiment running right now with NDDAC where we're trying alternate forms of light. We've been using high pressure sodium or metal halide for the last 20 years. And recently, new technologies in lighting have come out. So we're currently experimenting with cold weather fluorescent tubes, which burn a lot less electricity than either of the other two techniques I mentioned, and also with LED lighting. The advantages of both of those is they have a white light, recognize people a lot better, feel a little bit safer. Your eye is more receptive to white light than it is either to yellow or to the sort of blue given off by mercury vapor. We don't change permits out in the faculty every year. We do for students because there's such a huge turnover. Most college campuses in the United States will issue a new permit to every employee once a year. The clerical costs of that, the logistics of that are humongous. We do it every 3 years. We save a lot of money, a lot less wear and tear on the employee. As I said before, we've been engaging in a lot of flex fuel vehicles, hybrid vehicles, biodiesels for our buses and shuttles. And the other thing that we started up recently, about a year ago, is the Big Apple Express. Anybody in here use the Big Apple Express? It's a system where I believe this year it's $45 one way from State College to New York City with one stop in New Jersey. It gets there in a fraction of the time of the regular buses. We coordinate it with the local bus company that operates Trailways, and it runs Thursdays, Fridays, and Sundays. Right now, Friday and Sunday is supporting itself, and Thursday, not so much. Current issues. We have a big issue currently with the bus stop at East Falls, especially on weekend evenings. There's only so many dollars to go around to provide bus service, and we'll get people who have to wait for 2 or possibly 3 buses at the East Falls bus stop right outside of Curtin Hall. Quite frankly, in a lot of cases, between 9 and midnight, the students that are out there, I want to say they're half-tuned, but they're not in full control of their capabilities. And they get very abusive to the cabin drivers. We are working with University Safety, we are working with University Police, we're working with CATA, Res Life, and eventually we'll probably be coming to you guys for help on this, because we want to keep the service, but we can't keep it if we keep getting verbal and physical assaults on bus drivers. We're working on that right now. It's something we'll always have to deal with. There are cuts in service. There's only so many dollars to go around. We have service every 6 to 8 minutes on campus on the Wilson Lane, which is pretty amazing given the size of this campus and the number of students involved. And we just, we don't know where the money will come from. We are, in terms of parking and transit, in terms of parking, we're 100% self-sustaining. We don't get tax dollars, we don't get tuition dollars. Bike share is a program we're working on. A lot of campuses have gone to a bike share program where they have bikes that you can get with your student ID or a credit card, rent it on a daily or an hourly or a weekly basis. drop it back off at the central deposit place. Sometimes it works well, sometimes it doesn't. There's issues with maintenance, liability, but we're working on that, and we hope to have something developed soon. We're also looking at, since the Big Apple Express was such a huge success, quite frankly, we're looking at expanding that to a bus service between State College and Baltimore DC area. So, don't know when or if that'll come to fruition, but it is something that we're currently working on.
Stand for questions? Questions, Representative Karasek.
There's a couple of things that we're working on here at UPUA that have to do with transportation. And I'll just go through a couple of those. And I want to know the feasibility, how we would do that, how much money it would cost, things like that, if you could do it off the top of your head. The first and foremost would be having at least one bus on each of the loops running 24 hours. I know this has been talked about before, but we might have some, there's some things we can do with money that maybe shift some stuff around. So if after 2:30 or something we went to one bus, but still have a bus on each of the white and the blue loops, would that be feasible? Is my first question.
Feasible? Yes. Affordable? I don't know. How much do you think? Out of my league, to give you an off-the-cuff answer, I would suggest you give Teresa Davis a call tomorrow.
Okay.
I know that the CATA buses, it's going to run probably $100 or better per hour to run the bus, depending on how many days a week you want to do it, and how many hours that is beyond the normal shut-off time. That can add up real fast. If you've got 2 or 3 buses, $300 an hour, 6 hours, times X number of days, you're talking a lot of money.
Other questions? Representative Slesser?
You said about biodiesel and buses. Are you aware that biodiesel is pretty much on its way out? And SVO?
I personally have not.
SVO is straight vegetable oil. I work at
Okay, I have, all right, yes, I have.
the canola program. Are you doing anything with that in your fleet?
I don't believe our current rolling stock can use that particular fuel. And I'm not sure how long it would take to cycle all of our current buses out into new ones. Most of our bus service is contracted through CATA. As a matter of fact, the vast majority of it is contracted through CATA. So in terms of what kind of rolling stock, we don't have it. Their vehicles are all compressed natural gas though, so they do have a minimal impact on the environment.
Representative Sanders?
Hi, thanks for coming out for us to talk to us today about transportation and specifically parking, which is a major concern to students. I remember when I first came to Penn State and they're giving the tours and we're asking questions at the end. What's the one thing you don't like about Penn State? And everyone always says parking. It's interesting to know that too. What I'm wondering specifically is why they have those 24-hour don't park here. There's Hammond Building and Dyke Building. There's till 5 p.m. you can park, or after 5 p.m. you can park here, and on the other side there's 24 hours no student parking ever. Is that? I'm guessing that's for maintenance workers, but I'm wondering why there's.
There are 4 lots on campus. The one behind Greenwood, the one at Cedar Moore, the one next to Pond, and the one Pond and Chandley, that are faculty staff parking only. And that's because everything else on campus opens up to you if you have a student permit at 4 p.m. I know the sign says 5 or 9. That's for people who do not have a permit. But if you have a permit, the lots that say 5 or 9 are actually open to you at 4 p.m.
Yeah.
and all day long Saturday and Sunday. There are so many students that the faculty senate asked us to create a few lots on campus where they can go to and know they're going to have a place to park. That's the rationale behind it.
I mean, even in the Hammond parking lot, there's a few spaces there that say 24 hours reserved for maintenance or faculty or staff. I'm just wondering if
There
there's a
are-
way we
There are a
just
few
have a few
permits.
spots instead of just an entire
Well,
parking lot.
actually, in the lot between the Schreier building and Reaver building, I'm sorry, That whole lot is open to students after 4 p.m. and on weekends, except for 2 dean spaces and 4 or 5 spaces that are reserved for the Alumni Center. I misspoke. The lot that's reserved over there is the lot behind Dyke.
Yeah,
That's
that's what
the
I'm
only
talking
one.
about. I'm just wondering because I come out of that library at midnight and there's like 2 cars there always. And I had to park all the way like by Rack Hall, like across the street by the ambulance. So just,
I agree. If we didn't have it though, the faculty would not have a place to park when they come in the evening that's anywhere near where their labs or their offices are. That's the reason why. We carved a few spaces out, because we do have another constituency
Yeah.
besides students to deal with called faculty.
I've heard of them. Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay.
Representative Wallner, and I'm suspecting this might be our last question, so.
Well, first, I don't know what, I heard a couple days ago about the having your lines, that tracking available online. I don't know if you're upset with doing that, but if you did, congratulations.
Well, we certainly didn't tell them don't do it, but it was pretty much, that was pretty much a CAD initiative, and it is pretty neat when you pull up the webpage and watch where the bus is going.
And sort of going off that, to what extent does Penn State have a contractual system with CAD? I know you said that almost all of our bus services are provided by CAD, but do we pay them strictly for bus service, and how often do we pay them? And is the money straight out of the
Well, some of the money is straight out of tuition because that's what the student body decided when we went to the no-fare system, I should guess 8, 9 years ago. Some of the money is provided by parking because there is not enough money there to pay for the current service. So there is some money that comes from parking to support transit options. It's a contract between the Pennsylvania State University and the Center Area Transit Authority. We contract for X number of hours, and that's how we work. Now, there are a lot of times during the year when we will work with CADA to address a specific spot need, and we might pull some hours from something which is being underutilized, and then use those hours where we have a critical short-term need. That does happen. Usually at the beginning of the semester, when people are getting used to their schedules and the buses are flooded, and then if you notice, the parking lots tend to die down a little bit, and the bus use tends to die down a little bit. Did I get your
Motion.
question?
Motion to extend time by 5 minutes is
Second.
honored the speaker.
Any objections? No? Is that okay with you? 5 more minutes? Okay.
Kind of expected it.
Representative Bloy?
Yes. I was wondering if you could go into how you think bus service is going to be affected, as well as overall traffic on campus, with the master plan to like shut down Curtin Road. And that's on the website, and I was just wondering if you knew anything about that. Like,
Quite
what-
frankly, this is the first I've heard of a plan to shut down Curtin Road.
Oh, okay.
Transit on this campus cannot survive without an east-west route. Campus is an east-west oriented campus. And if Curtin Road is shut down to buses, it all falls apart.
That's why I was wondering if whether or not
So-
buses would be on there, or if it would just be.
The only thing that I've heard that relates to what you just said is the master plan that was developed in the late 90s did mention turning Curtin Road into a bus-only corridor. But that had nothing that was designed to augment and enhance the transit system, not kill it, which is what your comment.
Right. I just want
If
to
you
know
can
if
tell
the
me
buses
where
would
you
still
heard
be-
that specifically, I'd really like to know, because I've got a problem.
No, the master plan. I just want to know if the buses would still be on Curtin Road.
I think that part of the master plan has been pretty much dropped, at least it's off the current radar. But if it ever raises its ugly head again, we will be taking to the mattresses to make sure that we have bus quarter on that road. Okay?
Thank you.
Last question, Representative Miller?
I'd like to yield to Board Ricardo first.
Okay.
Ricardo Torres, Community Service. I have a quick question. With the parking garages, is there anything being done or has there been thought about with treating the runoff water? Since there's so many cars, oil spills, gas spills, is there anything being done so that any possible pollution from the parking garages
yes and no. Currently, I mean, none of the runoff from any road or any surface parking lot is treated. So it's kind of there's really no difference involved. However, only the roof level of the parking garage gets subjected to a lot of water flow. Yeah, there is some on other levels. I'm not going to say there isn't, but it's minimal compared to the roof. We do wash the decks twice a year as a maintenance procedure. In order to prolong their lifespan, you've got to wash a garage. I know it sounds silly, and if we had half an hour, I'd explain it to you, but just accept for now that we have to do it. On those occasions, when we're washing the decks down, all of the runoff water that's now on each of the floors goes to the storm system, which is untreated. However, we plug the exit up. There's a big holding tank there. We plug the drainage from that, pump it over to the sanitary system where it is treated. So, yeah, no.
I was wrong. One last question, Representative Karasik.
Madam Vice President. My question is another idea that we've been toying with, and that is having other universities have a student-driven system on the weekends where a student can call in basically, and they would get a van that would come pick them up and take them to another area to take them home. Ohio State has it such that the call center is manned by students, the vans are actually manned by students. That's something that we are looking to maybe implement here and advocate for, or else have a bus going around, one of the blue buses.
You mean a point-to-point taxi service?
Basically, yes, that would be funded by some sort of fee, basically, yes. We hate to use that word, but yes.
Well, nothing is really impossible, but everything costs money. Is that an impossible task? Obviously not. Other universities, as you say, are doing it. I don't know. Can it be done? Yeah. Are you willing to bear the price? I don't know. Maybe you are. Maybe another student isn't. But it's something that certainly we can research and discuss.
Would students in that instance be able to drive a fleet vehicle?
According to the liability situation in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania at this point, and my understanding thereof, I would say probably not.
Thank you.
Okay, that's all the time we have. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to old business, none, new business, hearing board nominations. Mr. Karasik. Chairman Karasik.
The Elections Hearing Board is the second part of the elections process. What it basically does is it will adjudicate any matters of discipline issues. Unfortunately, we tend to have many discipline issues with our elections. They continue to come through, and depending on who runs next year, I'm sure we'll see more. So with that, or at least we'll see referrals, I should say. So with that, the hearing board adjudicates those referrals. They meet a couple times throughout the elections process. Last year, I believe they only met once, and that was the night of the elections, which actually backlogged the results of the elections for a long time. So we are going to hopefully have them do it at other times. But I'm going to open nominations for hearing board. I have 2 nominations from the IB committee. If anyone else would like to be on the hearing board, Ralph, how many members of the hearing board? 5 total. So I have 2 nominations. We can take 3 others, or we can take as many nominations. We can only appoint up to 5. Preference is given to outgoing members of the association, not just representatives. If anyone else wanted to be nominated, we could do that as well. If you are commissioner, you would be ineligible to be nominated, and if you are board of arbitration, because you are you are basically the appeals body for the hearing board, you would not be eligible. So with that, I open nominations, and I nominate for the hearing board Representative Corabello and Representative Malloy.
Okay. Second? Any objection?
I mean,
If there's an objection, we can move into discussion about them. Are there,
I don't know.
are there any objections to accept?
To what?
It's just
No,
nominations.
just to, if they were seconded, they become nominations. So are there any other nominations?
Okay, Representative Miller.
I'd like to nominate Jose Pavon, the director of the.
Okay, that's three. Is there a second?
Second.
Representative Lucas? Did you have-
I'd like to nominate Director Suarez.
Is there a second? We're at 4. Szymanski? President Szymanski? You're wearing a t-shirt.
I represent it. I'd like to nominate Mike
Is that enough?
Harrison. Okay.
Okay. We're still at 4. President Malloy?
Madam Vice President, would you like to be
That is probably a no. Thank you though.
They do not?
There aren't any people in UPUA, and we move on now.
Just one more.
They can't be running.
How long are nominations?
What?
How long are nominations?
You'd like David,
Yeah, we can nominate.
Representative Wallace?
I would like to nominate Representative King.
Are you running again?
Are you
Are you
running
running
again?
If you do it, you can't run again.
He
He accepts.
Okay, is there a second?
Any other?
Are there any other, Representative Szymanski?
I'd like to nominate Matthew Smith.
He's not here to accept.
Yeah.
Sure.
Wait. Everybody stay.
Mr. Smith, do you accept the nomination to the elections hearing board?
What?
Mr. Szymanski nominated you to the elections hearing board. Do you accept said nomination? If so, you're not able to run for position.
That means you're not running.
Hearing board for elections, you would not be able to run.
How many people? It's really all about how many people are in.
We already have 5.
5,
It's
but,
a board of 5.
yeah.
Does that include the non-voting chair?
A couple of us have said no as well, so don't worry if you say no, it's not blasphemy.
You can be appointed, you just can't run. You can't be run.
I'll decline it.
Okay, other nominations, Representative Wallace?
I'd like to nominate Representative. Whatever they give.
Other nominations? Other nominations? Representative Malloy?
Representative Quinn here, she was, I don't know.
She was here. She might have.
Well, I nominate her.
They accept.
Accepted. Other nominations?
Wait, you nominated Megan Quinn.
Did you talk to her already?
No. Well, that's the thing, is can we clarify the procedure? Are we getting this voted on tonight, or is this a, okay. So, well, yeah, what about Huzaifa?
He's already, Zayf said it to him.
Joseph said yes.
Well, he said it, if Sam nominated him, I think he said it to me too. So.
Other nominations?
There aren't any other nominations.
They're not out there closing nominations.
Alright, any objections?
Five. Let's just.
Okay, so the 5 that we came up with are
Ralph.
President Knock? Oh, it's closed. Sorry.
Jack, you can- let him Jack.
Your
I
objections?
move to reconsider opening nominations. Just do this.
You guys.
Go ahead.
I nominate Yana Massey.
Okay, did she already accept?
I'm pretty sure she will.
I'm sure she will accept.
Okay,
No, she'll stand with Yana.
that's not exactly accepting, so.
second.
Okay,
Point of order, they have to be able to accept or reject the nominations. We can't elect someone who's unwilling to serve on the board. So that's why I asked if,
Are we electing right
yes, nominations, and then we're electing the people who sit on the board.
I mean, did anyone have a conversation about this with her?
I can text her right now.
I bet she's on your phone. President Malloy?
I motion to table to the end of new business, so that the parties could be contacted, maybe when it gets back, and if the audience wants to respond via text or something.
Second.
Sounds good.
Yes.
Representative Hines?
If you nominate someone to be on the board, like,
We're gonna discuss it and then elect them.
no, I just mean like for Cardinal Soros, I mean, he can't serve next semester
No.
or anything, or
But that
he
means
just,
you can't run.
He's not running. This is for the elections hearing board.
oh, okay.
So that's just this semester, the end of the semester,
And
and
I need
elections.
to graduate. Oh,
Yeah, he needs to graduate. Representative Karasik?
The procedure is, if you are involved in the elections commission or the elections hearing board, you cannot run for an office or be appointed to, you can appointed to any office, appointed to any office within the organization with the new code for the entire duration of the fall semester. So you're not able to be appointed until spring 2010. Thank you. You're welcome.
Any objections to tabling this until, where do you want it, Representative Moy?
After resolution 24.
Okay. Any objections? Okay, we'll do that then. Moving on to resolution 22, funding for UPUA Cultural Leadership Roundtable, Representative Lucas. Okay.
What's going on, everybody? Basically, it's pretty self-explanatory. From the funds that's been allocated to the diversity committee, where me and Chris Lockey encountered many multicultural leaders on campus who had a lot of ideas of or not as publicized as we would like to present. So, after talking for the past 4 months, we decided, we'll sponsor like a little dinner, not to basically talk and updates, but to see if we can kind of collaborate on something. I know every year the multicultural decided to do something big. Maybe we're trying to do something like that for the end of the year. So basically, through this event, we can just get in touch with a lot of people who, like I said, are not publicized as much people that you already know about. We have smaller groups or whatever. Excuse me. And basically, yeah, so I'll take questions if you want.
Questions? Okay. All right, moving into discussion.
I have a question.
Representative Karasik.
Has this money has already been allocated?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we were just passing.
Yeah, just basically, I want you to know about it.
All right.
Thank
Thank you.
Discussion on resolution 22. Mr. Cavello.
I thought this was a great idea. A lot of this focus this year has been to further communications in various areas. We had the Women's Symposium, we had academic council, academic affairs councils come together, and I think this is an extension of that. We really have to reach out into our constituencies and try to address a lot of those concerns. And I think that programs like this do exactly that. And so I've encouraged, I think, all the committees within their respective areas to try and reach out and try and find areas to talk to students as much as possible. And unfortunately, the students, usually the active students, those that are really in touch with different areas of the university, are very hard to get a hold of. And so one of the best and most efficient ways is to do these sort of forum events in a more formalized, relaxed setting that maybe we provide them with some conference dinner or something like that. In exchange for their time. I found them to be really successful, and I'm glad the diversity committee, student committee, is pursuing this.
Further discussion? Representative Slosing? Any objections to ending debate? Okay, Secretary? Roll call?
Okay. Mike Lottinger. Yes. Dustin Fish. Yes. Mark Cannon. Yes. Ralph Cavello.
Yes.
Dustin Bell.
Yes.
Hubert Hines.
Yeah.
Anthony Harrison.
Yes.
John Kane.
Yes.
Dan Longer.
Yes.
Benji Lombard. Steve Lucas.
Yep.
Kelly McCartney.
Yes.
John Malloy. Yes. Samantha Miller.
Yes.
Christopher Knott.
Yes.
Greg Plum. Megan Quinn. Kristen Reiser.
Yes.
Amy Sanders.
Yes.
Philip Slusser.
Yes.
Richard Szymanski.
Yes.
Matthew Smith.
Yes.
Michael Smith.
Yes.
Michael Wallace.
Point of order.
Oh, yes.
Wow.
Not yellow.
Yeah, it should be. Sorry, your vote?
All right, resolution 22 passes 23-0-0. Moving on, resolution 23, establishment of EQA legislative semesterly. Representative Lucas, Chairman Lucas.
All right, first of all, I apologize for not even wearing a collar tonight. I got locked out of my apartment, so forgive me. Should I introduce both publications or separately? Okay.
Let's just do it separately.
All right. So the EQA Legislative Semesterly has been an effort to increase visibility and transparency within EQA. Basically, this document will publish every resolution we pass from this assembly in magazine form. There's going to be a letter from the president in each edition of the Legislative Semesterly. It will be published every semester and given to the student body. Currently, the plan is to start at a moderate volume of copies. We've allocated $6,000 of our budget to this project, and that'll include 2 issues, one for fall semester, one for spring semester. We're going to try to make this available on the website as well in PDF format, so even more students can look at it. And we're hopeful that this will increase it'll increase understanding of what EQA does, exactly what we pass, what we write, and what affects the student body.
Okay, any questions? Mr. Gavello?
Steve, in the actual semesterly, are there also going to be roll call vote totals and so forth, so that basically students can see how each one of the representatives voted on different issues?
That's been something that I've put in my kind of strategic plan for this project. I've mapped out privately like a 3-year plan of how this would play out. Currently, I'm working with only my committee to develop this publication. So we're starting with the actual legislation, the president's letter, a summary of the various topics that the assembly addressed in each semester. But I would like to expand this to an executive department position at some point with an editor-in-chief as the department head with staff underneath him or her. That way that they can keep the roll call, steward those documents, and be able to effectively expand this document.
Other questions? Representative Szymanski?
How big do you expect this magazine to be? Like, how many pages and stuff like that?
The first will probably be around 20 pages. In the future, it might be longer. It just depends on the interest in terms of staff membership in EQA, the department head, and a lot of it will be left to the discretion of the executive director and editors.
Do you expect to get like lots of designs and graphics or anything like that, or just kind of be very plain and simple?
It's mostly a text-based document. Think of like a congressional quarterly.
Yeah.
We originally wanted to call it the quarterly, but we found out that logistically that would be a nightmare because of how semesters work and how the assembly functions.
So I'm assuming that it has some pictures. It's just going to be like I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I've seen them, so it's,
on the front cover you'll have, I'd like to feature student photographers for each of the covers. Have something from campus or some sort of artwork on each cover, and then within the magazine, we can also feature other people. That again is up to the discretion of the editor.
Representative Lombard?
I think this is a great idea. I was wondering with the 2,500 copies, what is your plan for distribution for your first two issues?
We had some ideas of sending them to various dorms on campus and then expanding that to off-campus apartments in the future. I'm thinking currently we'll go into dorms and pass them out, do distribution in the hub, kind of figure out where students will take this from. This is uncharted territory for UPUA, so we're going to try to feel out what's the best possible way we can connect the student.
I have a question. I know we discussed this in steering to distribute via mail. That's obviously more expensive, but are you still planning on doing that?
Yeah, that's definitely in the plan for the future. I think this year we need to focus on quality of the document and getting it out to students and getting the feedback on it. I would like, as soon as next year, the next assembly, for them to start mailing it out to students, especially those on campus. Freshmen are going to be very important. If students are getting this on a regular basis every semester from UPUA and they can read exactly what we're passing, there's a higher likelihood that we'll get more interest in UPUA, more interest in what we do, and frankly more respect for all the work we do.
Representative Hines?
Do you have any way to be plans on how you're going to give them out? Because I mean, you can give out 2,500 copies, but how do you know you're going to get it to people who are going to read it? It's not people who can take it to the person whatever they're doing.
There's multiple ways you can do this. One thing we're going to really focus on is getting it to freshman students who have a vested interest in university, understanding it. And we really like to foster that interest as they move forward throughout the university. And then, we all know people in UPUA. We can all depend on each other in our various networks to distribute this thing.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you. All right, discussion on resolution 23. Mr. Kierans.
I think this is a great job by Steve and the whole entire committee. I remember when he first brought this to steering, I thought it was one of the most impressive things that I've seen as far as a document from UPUA. So I just want to give my hats off to the Campus Life Committee for really showing something, really kind of establishing this whole meeting is basically diversity in Campus Life show. So we'll go.
Representative Szymanski.
On line 43, to change it to 2009, 2010.
Line 23, 43, 2000.
Yes, President.
It's for this year.
Well, I know that's
We're not done yet.
no longer.
It's for this past.
For this school year, it's 2008, 2009.
We've compiled an issue for the fall already.
So you're going to use that as your first one, probably? Yeah. So that's not relevant. Okay. Representative Malloy?
Yeah, I'd like to offer an amendment. More of a friendly amendment for line 37. This mention must be presented prior to publication to the committee approved by the chair of the Diversity Affairs and Student Life Committee.
Okay. Do you accept that? Okay.
And then the other is an actual amendment. On line 22, it says, with an optional letter from the UPUA president and chair of the assembly.
Okay. Is there a second? Any objections? Okay.
I have an additional amendment. On line 33, the content of the review must include full text of each resolution passed by assembly and roll call vote totals.
And roll call vote totals. Is there a second? On line 33, it will read, the content of the review must include full text of each resolution passed by the assembly, comma, and roll call vote totals, etc. Is there a second? Any objections? Okay, further discussion? Representative Smith?
Yeah, I want to thank Steve and his committee for putting this together. I think that a document like this holds us accountable, especially when it's reflected upon by the president and now the chair of the assembly. And most importantly, it puts what we're doing here in context, and I think the letters are almost as important as the actual document. Too often, the issues get confused once they go outside of these walls. And if we're not out there on the ground talking about what's going on in the assembly, then at least now there'll be a document that more specifically relates to what we're doing. So I would motion that they.
Any objections to any debate? Representative Lohner?
Yeah, I object that.
Okay.
Second.
Yeah.
Okay.
I withdraw my motion.
Okay.
My recommendation.
Yes.
I move to amend, where we were before, July 34, after, Mr. Malloy's second amendment, second amendment that he added, I would like to amend it to read, additionally, the attendance records.
Okay, so on line 33 would be, the content of the review must include full text of each resolution passed by the Assembly, comma, and roll call vote totals, comma, and attendance records for the Assembly.
That's what's important to me.
Okay, for the Assembly, period. Oh, continue. Is there a second? Objections?
I object.
You object, okay.
I feel that roll call vote totals would be the same as attendance. If they're there to vote on something and they're present at the meeting.
Representative Karasik?
A roll call vote is not taken at every meeting. We have had meetings without new business. I would agree with this. I would recommend, this would obviously be left up to interpretation, because one could interpret it as just Assembly members, or one could interpret it as Assembly meetings. I would certainly want everyone at this meeting to be held accountable for being here. I don't really care what they do outside of these walls, but I would want them to be held accountable for being here. So, I do support this amendment. I would just want to make sure that that's the point.
Representative Mock?
I agree with Representative Malloy. However, I think that having the attendance record would make it more accessible here. So I do agree with them.
Further discussion on the amendment? Representative Slesser? Objections to any debate on the amendment? Show of hands, all in favor of the amendment proposed by Representative Lohner? Opposed? Abstentions? 3. Is that an abstention? Okay. Amendment passes 16-3-4. Further discussion? Representative Szymanski? Any objections to any debate on the resolution? Okay. Roll call. Secretary?
Justin Fish. Yes. Mark Cannon. Yes. Justin Dove. Yes. Hubert Hines. Yes. Andrew Karasik.
Yes.
John King. Yes. Sam Mulder.
Yes.
Reggie Wilmore.
Yes.
Steve Lucas.
Yes.
Hillary McLaren.
Yes.
Sean Malloy.
Yes.
Kenneth Miller.
Yes.
Nah.
Yes.
Megan Quinn. Christian Ragland.
Yes.
Amy Sanders.
Yes.
Philip Slaughter. Richard Szymanski. Yes. Matthew Smith.
Yes.
Michael Smith.
Yes.
Michael Wallace. Yes.
Okay. Resolution. Oh, right.
Man, I gotta have
Very yellow.
Okay, resolution 23 passes 22-0-0. Moving on, resolution 24, funding for students' history of Penn State, or Chairman Lucas.
Alright, it's me again. I'm going to put this in context for you guys. I don't know how extensively I've explained this to everyone. A Student's History of Penn State is a historical initiative by the Diversity Affairs and Student Life Committee, born out of a resolution passed by the previous assembly. Representative Nicole Barrett came up with a resolution that had a three-pronged approach to addressing issues of campus climate. I've paraphrased those in the 3 bullets here. The committee asked for the authority to publicly respond to incidences that had sexist, homophobic, racist, and other such forms of prejudice that were, campus-wide activities. Respond to those publicly in the collegiate and other forums. Secondly, to create this document, Students' History at Penn State. A student research produced and published history of student activism and advocacy at Penn State. This is going to specifically highlight the accomplishments of student activists and student organization and advocacy in face of these incidences. And third of all, to establish focus groups run by our committee to assess campus climate and various student communities on campus. So currently we worked this past semester to develop a plan for the Students' History of Penn State, what sort of topics we're going to look into, what it's going to look like in the future. Currently, we'd like to pick a certain number of events and historical periods at Penn State and look into the implications of those events on current events, kind of give students an understanding of what's happened here in the past, how fellow students and alumni have banded together in facing these crises. This would include student protests, student activism with administrators, sit-ins here at Hub formed by Black Caucus. There's a number of events that students should know about as active participants at Penn State. And then in terms of focus groups, we're still working on this initiative. We recognize it's going to be a long-standing commitment from the committee. We also need to contact people who are able to facilitate effective focus groups. The original resolution called for the formation of not only focus groups, but a report based on those findings. So we're going to have to seek professional help. I've allocated funds in our new budget to look into that project, and those are pending. So I'm just going to stand for questions about the document.
Mr. Val, or Karen's.
The other thing is, if there's not a date for this, what if it isn't finished by the end of the year and we allocated funds? That might be a use for something else.
I mean, it will be done.
Okay.
We plan to have, it's going to be an annual, so it'll be once a year. It wouldn't be the same things over and over. It wouldn't be a cumulative document. There would be issues, so each issue would focus on like a set or series of events.
What's the first issue?
It's a mystery.
Other questions? Mr. Cabello.
I know you mentioned, Stephen, I think I brought this up to you at some point, but it's been a while, so I asked you now. About the focus groups conducted, I guess in conjunction with writing this. Have you made any attempts to partner? I saw Andrea, maybe she was down, I thought she was coming up here. Have you partnered with her office, and they do student surveys and so forth? And I think that would be a resource that you could utilize in either furthering the peer study groups or the peer review to make it more scientific and gathering better information.
Well, to be completely honest, our agenda was really focused on the Students' History of Penn State and the semesterly and the networking event and other events last semester. Focus groups is going to be a long-standing on that issue as we have on.
Other questions? Ms. Olson?
I would just say, have you considered the poor hapless grad students who need to learn how to run focus groups as well, as you're thinking ahead?
Joanne, would you be my partner in this project?
Well, we can talk about it later.
No, that's actually a good point. We can do that as well.
Other questions? Okay. Discussion on resolution 24. Representative Slosser? Objections to ending debate? Representative Malloy?
Sorry, I wanted to offer an amendment. It's not that.
Okay, to withdraw your motion.
In my opinion, of course.
That's fine. Slosser, Representative Slosser, do you withdraw? Okay, Representative Malloy.
I would like to add on line 6 of the second page, present each issue to the General Assembly, we'll also give no less than 5 copies to the university library, something along those lines, so that students can access it from the library, and it can be in the collection of the university library.
So your amendment would read on line 6, General Assembly.
We'll just say,
Exactly.
we'll also file each issue with the University Archives.
And would also file each issue
With the
university. No less than 5 copies to the university.
And that's, here with the 5 copies thing. Just say,
Okay.
we'll file each copy, each issue with the University Archives.
Second.
Okay, objections? Okay, no objections, further discussion on the resolution? Representative Slesser? Any objections to ending debate on resolution 24? No? Okay, roll call, Secretary.
Suspend the rules and allow us to vote by acclamation on this document. I think we might all be able to turn roll call.
Okay.
Undefeated.
Sure. Objections? Okay. All those in favor of resolution 24, please say. Oh, I'm sorry.
If there are any objections.
Okay, you're right. Any objections to resolution 24? No? Okay. Passes.
Move to reinstate the rules.
2200. That's fine. Liaison reports. Oh, no. Still a new business. Hearing board nominations. That's fine. Okay. So did we get in touch with Miata?
No, we did not.
Did anyone, Representative Slesser?
Table this for next week. Second. Yeah, second.
Why would you do that?
So they can.
Okay. There is a second. Is there any objections?
I'm Jack.
Okay. Want to talk about that?
Discussion. I mean, technically, the election code says we're supposed to do this last week in conjunction with the election commissioners. It was postponed just because of the chaotic and long and boring meeting we had last week. And I mean, if we knew that these people expressed interest in it, I would kind of say okay, but I mean, we don't. So we're postponing it a week when really there are codes and so forth internal to the board that have to be addressed, documentation, as well as starting with the commission. So there is some work to do, and these people on the board, you know, myself included, who would be on this board, you know, have other obligations, so we can't really devote a single lot of time to it. So unless we're 100% certain these people are really going to accept, and namely it's Miata, because that's the only other person on here, or Representative Quinn, which we also can get a hold of, I assume, then I would say there's no reason to postpone it for those two individuals.
Representative Knopp, we're in discussion.
I think that we be doing everybody who wants to run for the next Secret Assembly a huge injustice if we didn't devote the maximum amount of effort that we can to appoint people to this hearing board. Now everybody came here, and so you gotta appoint people to the hearing board on the agenda. We started appointing people, but I doubt that a lot of people in this room really put thought into this before they came to this meeting. And that's troublesome. If there are people who we feel that would be capable and would be good at the hearing board, then we shouldn't like just blow them out when they are at this meeting, and we shouldn't do it just because, you know, we're in a crunch time or rushing or something. You know, I think that today, if we put the best people on the board, it's in the interest of everybody.
Representative Smith?
It's strong. I agree with President Hopkins on a couple of points. That is, I think we should have the strongest vote possible. But as a committee chair, I feel that I will be in touch with other fellow committee chairs. There's an awful lot of things that we're in charge of appointing people to, and there's never enough people to go around. No matter how many high caliber people you have in the assembly, especially since most of you are sophomores, just needs to be closure to this as soon as possible. And I really don't think, not will Mrs. Masley not, probably not accept the nomination.
Or Quinn.
Either way, the point is, sorry, thank you, Aaron. Sorry, I think that we should I think we should end this tonight. If we don't have enough bodies, I'm gonna defer to whatever Andrew and Ralph basically point out from an internal development committee standpoint, also the chair of the assembly standpoint. My vote will go, especially with what Andrew says, and like I said before, I agree with Representative Knox, but I think we need to get this over.
Representative Karasik?
This was in my committee report last week, so I did make everybody aware of it. Technically, yes, I was supposed to do it last week. I did make a conscious decision to put it off 1 week so that we wouldn't have gone from 1:30 to 2 o'clock last week. While yes, I do think that we should give everyone a chance to be on this board, what we saw was partially my fault of kind of a melee of let's see who wants to be on this board and let's just start throwing names out. We have 5 very qualified candidates. We have 2 who we have no idea whether they want to accept it. The code technically does state that we should have put it in last week, push it off another week is a problem. This is the last remaining issue of the elections commission. Once this is done, our elections can run. Unfortunately, we've had some issues we had some delays in appointing commissioners, and actually, if you read the timeline on the back of the elections code, registration begins, as Gavin said, in 2 weeks. So the elections process is about to begin. So we really need to get this underway, get this squared away and solved. So I'm going to actually say that we vote no on tabling this simply because we just need to move forward. While I do believe that we should give everyone a right to do it, they've had a week to consider it. This is another reason why other members of our organization should be at our assembly. Thank you.
The motion is actually to postpone it. Mr. Covello corrected. Representative Slusser.
So, do we have 5 people that are
Yeah.
here tonight?
Okay, so the list is Covello, King, Munn, Malloy, Torres, and we have also Masley and Quinn, but we haven't checked with those 2. So technically we have 5 that were nominated and accepted. We have 2 that were nominated and not accepted. Well, we don't know if they accepted or not. Representative Malloy?
I'd like to withdraw, make a point for me, as nominated.
Okay.
In that case, I withdraw the motion.
Any objections, Representative Malloy?
Additionally, I'd like to ask Andrew and possibly you could call Commissioner Goodstein on whether or not we appoint 5 people who have already accepted and then someone be an alternate. I don't know if an alternate is called for. If Ms. Masley decides to accept and then someone has to leave the hearing board. What is the process for if someone from the hearing board is not present?
Mr. Covello?
Andrew, you've stayed on the code longer than I have this year anyway, so you can correct me. But there are no provisions for alternates or any member. If there's a vacancy, the assembly would just reappoint someone to fill that vacancy. There's no attendance policy, so I'm not quite sure how you would quantify vacancy. So if the board is of 2 people, I would assume you would have to have quorum, and that would mean that procedure. There is procedures that Matt Lockman outlined last year. But you have to have quorum. So as long as there are 3 members of the hearing board, it would be more like a tribunal, but it would still function in that capacity unless the assembly appointed 2 additional people to certain rules. So I don't think you can have alternates.
Yeah, my interpretation is the same. There is nothing in this document that says alternates or gives us the authority to appoint alternates in addition to the board of arbitration or anything like that. There's nowhere in any of our documents to say the board alternate. Except for alternate to
Something else on the line?
Oh, I always have something.
Okay.
No, yeah. I would say that we, vote no on postponing this. We really need to get the selection stuff down.
Oh, no, that was withdrawn.
That was withdrawn?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, then.
Sorry, Representative Slusser said that I probably just didn't
Alright,
hear.
I'm going to sit down.
Okay. All right. So with Quinn off the table, and we haven't heard back from Massley, we have the 5. Corbello, King, Munn, Malloy, and Torres. Representative Karasik.
With that, I motion to close nominations.
Any objections to closing nominations? It was seconded. Are you lying?
What did she say?
Okay, so there's an objection because you'd like to keep nominations
I
open.
withdraw
Okay.
my motion.
Any other nominations? Representative King?
I'm going to de-nominate myself.
Alright, so you're not accepting. Okay. So you don't accept, okay.
You need a second, well, you need a motion
Yeah.
to nominate.
Representative Wallace?
So she.
Are there any more nominations? Do you nominate anyone?
Actually, no, you need a second.
Any further nominations? We have Corbello, Munn, Malloy, and Torres.
She was already nominated, we need a second.
We have a second on Miata Massley.
Second.
Objections?
You can't second.
She accepts. Okay, so she's back on the list. So now we have Corbello, Munn, Malloy, Massley, Torres. That's 5. Any other nominations? Representative Karasik.
Motion to close nominations.
Objections? No. Okay. Yeah. Are there any objections to accepting these 5? Everyone clear on who they are? Okay. Representative Malloy? I have no idea. Okay, so the hearing board is Corbello, Munn, Malloy, Massley, and Torres. Great. Moving on. Liaison reports. Graduate Student Association, Joanne Olson.
I appreciate that we're awake when I get to talk tonight. Just one thing, a couple of weeks ago I mentioned that there was a blood drive coming up. It's tomorrow and Friday in Alumni Hall here, and this one is the one that also has the bone marrow registry connected with it. Normally that is a fee you pay to be on the registry. This time someone has funded it, so if you're interested at all in being part of the bone marrow donor registry, which would just put your name on a list. I've been on the list for 10 years, no one has ever called me. Were they to call me, it would be a last resort for someone who needed bone marrow of some sort. They start with family and then they go further and further out and then they look at the registry. So, and if I were to be called, then my blood would be tested further for compatibility with the person needing the donation. And then if it was all to match up, statistically this is improbable, sad for the patient, but if it were to, it would be an outpatient procedure on my part. So donation is not nearly as invasive as transplant or receiving. So the registry is also hoping to diversify its list of donors. Because it's a tissue transplant, there's a lot more, it has to be more finely tuned. It's not just a matter of 4 blood types. So they're specifically hoping to be able to diversify. So it's a cheek swab, and you can either donate blood or do the registry or both, and that's tomorrow and the next day. Yeah, ma'am.
Are there any other like physical requirements for getting on the bone marrow list?
No, and it's different. Some of the restrictions that are on the blood donor list are not part of the marrow list. I don't think they're as picky about it.
Further questions? Representative Knock. Okay, great. Other questions? No? Okay, thank you very much. Arsh, Kayla.
Okay, I just have, I guess, a message that I want to pass along from the director of Moving On. As you guys know, Moving On is our big free concert on the Hub lawn, usually spring semester, late spring semester. This year, Moving On is April 4th, and after reading about the concert you guys are potentially planning, the Moving On director would respectfully like to ask that you not do it the first week of April, seeing how that is when Moving On is. I realize that the program committee report at the moment says that your tentative date is May 2nd. That would be perfectly fine with us. We just would prefer that it's not the first week of April.
Questions, Representative Karasik?
Actually, the decision, that's a final decision. It will not be the first week in April. So you can, will you please pass that on to Moving On director?
Representative Hines?
We haven't signed all the bands, so I can't release that.
Any other questions? Do you have a question, Representative Wallace?
Who planned Moving On?
He just asked that. I can't release that until we sign up.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, thank you very much. Remember to stand when you're speaking. Moving on to a report by the Association Directors and Staff, Chief of Staff, Mr. Mike Anderson.
I have a two-sided sheet going around that is our report. Because we don't have paper in the copier, that's the best I can do. That is one of the things we're working on, actually, is ordering paper. That should be done by the end of the week. We're still fighting with UPAC about some allocation issues and things, but it shouldn't be too big of a deal. And that should be taken care of, hopefully, by Friday.
Questions? For any of the directors? No? Okay, moving on to committee reports, steering, Mr. Perrella.
The report's in front of you. In addition, there are a few items to talk about. First of all, do you have the sign-up sheet for the Times? It was on top of all the reports. No? Okay, we lost that. But if you did not sign up for, if you're an on-campus rep and did not sign up to attend one or two of the ARCH meetings this semester, so it'd be the new representative, or if you're an off-campus representative and haven't signed up for two of the borough council meetings, please see me after the meeting so I can write your name down and I can send you the time since apparently the sheet's gone missing. Also, I did find the name placards for the 3 new representatives and the treasurer, which were made. I extended a liaison position to UPAC, being that they used to have a representative position. I'm talking to Kendra right now, so that they have some voice on the assembly. I think that's important. Other than that, the 10 bullet points are in front of you. I'll stand for questions, but just on that point, there's a lot of confusion when people don't stand. Like, I'm in front, so my voice carries to the back. It's a lot easier to talk in front of you and I have a microphone. But for you guys, you obviously don't have amplification, and you're facing forward. So that's why we request that you stand. It's not just a formality; it's practical too. So if everyone can do that, then that would be very appreciated. So I'll stand for questions.
Representative Karasik.
I actually have 2 questions. The first one, could you just clarify you are offering a liaison position to UPAC?
Yes.
Second, oh yeah, absolutely, I'm sure they love that. Second, could you go into point 9 on here? You and I have talked via email about it. Why are we being charged for things and what's the deal with that?
I'm actually trying to work with Mary to sort different things out in regards to that. But that's a tentative total. I added it up. It's about $600. Normally, we're not charged for room usage, which, as you know, looking at room rates is expensive. But I was also under the impression this has to do with President Lewis, that we wouldn't be charged for general operational expenses such as microphones and things of that nature, and even extending to if we need projectors. We used to operate on every week we had a projector with Chamberlain and then with Lewis, but there seems to have been some confusion on that. So I'm trying to straighten out exactly what the policy is going to be in the future and what can be done about the charges right now. But if need be, we're going to have to cover the $600 moving forward. And so I just wanted to put that in the report, and because we're going to be thinking where we can find the money in the budget to pay for that.
Other questions? Representative Malloy?
Yeah, is there only one vacant off-campus seat and one at-large seat, or are there multiple at-large seats? I can't tell.
There's one vacant off-campus and one vacant at-large seat, in addition to three Greek council seats and 1 or 2 academic seats. So we still have 6 or so vacant seats, but there's one at-large and one off-campus to my knowledge. And the on-campus was just filled, one vacancy was just filled.
And then is Elena Benton going to be interviewing for the at-large seat, or is she like taken while the ones that have already been taken?
I believe, I actually got another application today from Christina Boggs for an at-large position. I believe Elena is off campus. She might be at large. I'm not 100% sure. I don't have her application with me. So we have 2 more applications. I don't know whether there are 2 positions available that complements their respective living.
Thank you.
Other questions? None? Okay. Moving on to internal development. Representative Karasek, Chairman Karasek.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
My apologies for the little convoluted procedure regarding nominations this evening. Unfortunately, there's actually no governing procedure that I could find for how nominations and access are to be conducted, so I apologize for my rustiness on that. The only big thing that I'm going to mention, you can read everything else there, the only big thing that I'm going to mention is UPAC. There is a part of the code of the student activity fee handbook that has been interpreted and has been basically approved by the student activity fee board for all intents and purposes, that the UPAC representatives will come to the election via the, yes, happy Valentine's Day, via the UPUA GSA election process. Now what we have interpreted that to mean is that that is a process that that these organizations choose, which is our election process. E-Committee is currently spoke about a couple of different options. Those options are now heading to steering this Sunday, and they will be brought to the floor in an official resolution from ID Committee next Wednesday. This is actually a very big deal because it's solidifying a very big connection between UPUA and UPAC. And so just look for that next week. If you have any questions, I'll take them now, or you can contact me at another point, but just note that on the horizon.
Questions? Representative Knock.
Just to clarify. So just to clarify, UPAC wants to be a part of our elections?
No. To clarify, the student activity fee handbook, which actually chartered UPAC as the allocating body on this campus, authorizes the elections process. 25 UPAC representatives are to be appointed, and 10 are to come from elections by UPUA GSA. So it authorizes that. This is not something that UPAC, I don't think UPAC wants to, is jumping at being involved in it.
Other questions? Mr. Gavello?
You are inviting Kendra to your committee meeting next week or this coming Tuesday to discuss whatever proposal ID is making.
Yes, and with that, the correction, number 1, Kendra can't make it on Tuesdays. Number 2, Chris Morrell, who is a member of our committee, cannot make it on those Tuesdays. I was unaware of that. So we will be changing our meeting time. It'll have to be before next Wednesday, most likely some point on Monday, hopefully, which I'm getting head shakes at, so probably Wednesday evening. But yes, Kendra will be invited.
Okay, because I did tell him that would be part of anything moving forward.
Yes, I spoke to her yesterday.
Other questions? Okay, thank you very much. Programming, Chairman King.
You have my report in front of you. Before I answer any questions, I just want to thank Mr. Karasek and Mike Wallace for all the work they're doing for Wallace Collision. If you have any questions about that, they're more likely to answer it than I am. Forgot to pass the sheet around, so I'm going to be emailing everyone on the listserv. I need sizes for Oxford search firm. travel on, so unless everyone wants to meet him, please respond to my email. Hopefully by this weekend.
Questions, Representative Slauson?
What is an Oxford shirt?
It's like what I have on that. It's like a button down.
Representative Karasik?
Thank you for that display, Chairman King. My one question would be, since we basically have 4 weeks left of our current assembly, not everyone running again, are we going to give the shirts to current assembly members, or are we going to wait for the next assembly? That's something, okay, so it's just, okay, thank you.
Other questions, Representative Knock?
So these Oxford shirts, are they gonna be white or blue?
They're gonna be white, and they're gonna say TTUA.
Other questions? Okay, thank you very much. Facilities, Chairman Mance, not here. Okay, Representative Lohner, Vice Chair.
As you see on the report in front of you, we've been working still with the Arch Task Force. Also working on the Crow problem, which was brought up last week with my friend Sims. I've been receiving periodical updates on that from OPP, and I've been trying to find out why it hasn't been working as well as they build it, as well as they said it would. And they don't have answers to that yet.
Any questions, facilities? Representative Slauson? If he allows you to. Crow comment? Okay.
I actually have been working, getting a meeting set up. I got a meeting set up February 23rd with administrators in Old Maine dealing with this issue. So that's coming up. We'll see how that goes. I actually did stop and talk with some of the OPP gentlemen who were having the last two crows last night, and they agreed also that it's not working. And which the one guy said he volunteered his 410 shotgun, but they won't allow that to happen. But I am working on talking with people in Old Maine.
Point of order, time has expired for this session. I motion for 10 more minutes for the remaining reports.
Objections? No?
Doesn't matter.
5 more, how about 5 more minutes?
My motion was for 10.
Okay, 10 more minutes, or less. All right, any other questions for facilities? Nope, okay. Academic affairs, Chairman Smith.
Sorry for not having a report, it's kind of more down, and I'll have that for next week. So going off what I gave for hearing, thank you to my vice chair, Representative Wallace, for chairing the academic affairs meeting briefly last week. And in that meeting, they passed a consultative report. We're trying to get the AACP, the Academic Administrative Policy Procedures, amended by AQ to give students a means of basically providing a pathway for them to deal with professors who aren't abiding by the 10% and non-achievement of final examination policy for final exams. Ian Kellogg came in, and there is a second version of the UPA book exchange we're working on. My task to make sure that we continue to update that, and it looks pretty sharp. Where I came from when I was late was because IST student government meeting was at 8 p.m. and they were getting restarted, so I was there speaking on behalf of the UPA Frank representative and delegate, and I also spoke to HHD. There was something delegate from them yesterday, and I'll save my last piece for coming in order. Just take questions.
Questions? Academic affairs? Nope. Okay, moving on. Governmental affairs, Chairwoman Miller. Apologies.
You have my report in front of you this week. That's exciting. So, there's some activities, activities that are going to go on at the Tuition Awareness Day rally, which is March 4th. We have those 2 locations confirmed. Our committee would love any additional help that anyone might want to give if they're especially interested. So shoot me an email and we can make that work if you want to. Read a piece of legislation. This, just so you know, the CCSG rally ideas and information came from Kate Mattis, who didn't come to our meeting this previous Monday. She's the governmental affairs representative from CCSG. So
questions? Okay. Mr. Cavello?
Samantha, are you putting Andrew in charge of media relations for the event?
If Andrew wants to email me about getting involved, then.
A ridiculous question. Any other real questions? Okay, thank you. Moving on, diversity and campus life. Chairman Lucas.
All right, thanks for passing all three resolutions. Our committee has worked really hard on all three initiatives, and we're going to focus on actually carrying out all those initiatives. Just looking forward beyond those things, one thing that's come to my attention in the last week is that the administration has revised the Penn State principles under legal pressure from a group called FIRE. Previous in this assembly, we looked at the Penn State principles under the critique of FIRE, presented in terms of limiting free speech and promoting free speech. What part the Penn State principles played. It's come to my attention that Penn State principles have been revised due to an impending lawsuit, and I'd like to investigate this issue further and talk to my committee about if we should take action.
Questions? Mr. Cavello?
Don't the Penn State principles, if they're amended, have to be approved by faculty and students? Isn't that how they were originally created in committee? Maybe Matt's hand jumped up right now. I didn't think the administration would just amend our principles.
Representative Smith?
Well, I mean, see that working.
He pointed to
No,
you.
yeah, just
Okay. No, because those, I mean, the Penn State principles, for those who don't know where they originated, President Spanier wrote them. He wrote them when he first came to Penn State. They were never approved by anyone, so he can amend them anytime. That's the answer to that question.
if you all have looked, if you got onto the ground floor of the hub right by Chad's, it looks noticeably different than the other copy. The reason that we look into this is that they took out provisions that promoted, I don't know, I forget the exact wording, promoting a safe environment for various minority communities and underrepresented groups. That is the part of the document that FIRE objected to, that students should have to comply with that part of the original Penn State principles. And so I think they've been revised to reflect that desire and to avoid a big loss.
Other questions? Representative Malone?
So they took out provisions that said be what exactly?
I can
open
explain
to
it.
other ideas or I don't know.
I can report on this further once I talk to my committee. This is just something that came up recently, and I've decided to take it to committee.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you very much. Moving on, comments for the good of the order. Representative Lombard.
Well, this weekend is our last weekend for canning, and UPO is sending a canning trip to Williamsport. So if you would like to come with us and raise some money, please let me know after the meeting. Also, if you're not available to come with us and you're available and you are in another organization that participates on, please go with them. This is the last weekend, as we say, it's our last weekend. Really push the total to be above what it was last year. So thanks a lot.
And that's going to be early morning departure, come back to campus in the afternoon. So if you have any Valentine's celebrations, you won't interfere. Representative Hines? No, we don't have dancers. Any other comments for the, actually, apparently, yeah, we'll talk about it later. Representative Smith?
Okay, thank you. First order of business, and I'll go back around, is the Presidential Leadership Academy. For those who haven't seen it mentioned anywhere, I really feel strongly that if you know any freshman, rising sophomore means freshman, who would be interested in being recommended for the Presidential Leadership Academy, now is the time for each one of you current student leaders to act. What it is a series of lectures hosted by President Spanier, and these students will be taken on board for this course for the remainder of their time at Penn State. That means for at any given time there will only be 90 total members, 30 added per year starting this year. And I really feel that having our representatives, especially the freshman representatives, in is very crucial for us to push. But also, if you know any particular freshman, we push them to apply for this, to challenge themselves, to be a part of something that is going to reflect greatly on both their resume and their leadership experience, but also on us as an organization. And I think if you pass up that opportunity, we're hurting anybody that we don't recommend for this. So if you have any questions about it, I'd love to talk to you about any strategy you have. But I think that you really should look at any freshman you know that would be good for the presidential leadership cast.
Other comments, Representative Karasik?
Couple things. With that, I agree. Our freshman representatives. In addition, I would still recommend former Representative Corey as well. Although not at this campus, I believe he is taking classes at another campus this semester. He'll be back. I want to commend Gavin and George Corey and all the other organizers for Monday. I personally was very impressed. If you count the people walking by, we had 500. If you count the people that stopped and listened, we had more than 100, which is pretty impressive for an event. There were many administrators who came out. Speaking with a lot of them, they were very impressed. The amount of press coverage that we received from this is incredible. It was on basically every major news outlet in the entire state. In addition, a news outlet in Pittsburgh actually went to the University of Pittsburgh's campus and did an entire report on the budget, and they actually ended the rally that is happening at University Park. There are no plans to go to Pittsburgh, so that may galvanize their student government to do it. So we've really started something here, and it has shown a really great thing. Thank you to all who came. I think it was a really amazing thing to see that put together that quickly with that much of an impact. The amount of students there is not as big as, in my opinion, as the far-reaching message. In addition, the winners of Best Dress, obviously, I think myself with my three-piece suit. I'm not going to be that vain and give it to myself. So, Mr. Wallace, Mr. Knott, Mr. Wagner, it's a three-way tie. Once again, I don't mean to sound sexist, but ladies, we can step it up just a little.
That was incredibly sexy.
I told you to wear that, first of all, okay? Representative Slesser.
I already said about the CRO meeting. I'm looking into different things with beer distribution and safety on campus. I'm going to the Pennsylvania Liquor Control Board meeting on February 18th in Harrisburg. Again, the Harvest Household, the Ag Fair on Hub Lawn is the 22nd. I formed a Facebook group, Boycott Valentine's Day. There will be a social event to go along with it. So if you're interested, get me on Facebook and join that. Thank you.
Other comments? Representative Knott?
I received an email today saying that a lot of people didn't apply for the student organization office space in the hub. So the deadline to apply for office space in the hub is extended until Monday. So if you belong to any organization and by some fault of God you forgot to apply for your office space, you should really get on that because if it's not going to be in the hub. If you have an organization that isn't in the hub per se, you could apply. It takes somebody's space who forgot to apply to something because So the new deadline was earlier this week. The new deadline is Monday. Get on that, apply for office space. Anything you don't deserve it, apply anyway. Go decide if you deserve it or not. Alright?
Could UPUA get the remaining office space?
We'll get the whole third floor. Representative Szymanski.
I just want to thank the Vice President for pointing out that I'm wearing a t-shirt today. Yes, I'm sporting the new Liberal Arts Dawn t-shirt, and it was made by our wonderful, wonderful webmaster. We voted on it. This was resoundingly popular, and I just, for anyone else who obviously want to buy one of these, they're $10 a piece, so, please speak to me.
Representative Smith.
Last comment for me. Other than saying I need to see my subcommittee chairs after the meeting for academic affairs, today in the pitch I noticed that there were 3 opinion pieces that were sent in by readers that were politically timely and relevant discussion topics. And usually that's 2 more than I see per day. So when we're talking about the aftermath to the rally that we got all this publicity from, take the time to write some letters and stay on top of this. If it showed up in your hometown newspaper and you really care about this, write a letter. If you care about anything, write to the Collegian or write to a local newspaper, because you got to have momentum sustainability. And I really feel that that there is the political climate is growing a little bit here at Penn State, and that's because you all are doing a great job. But like I said, I think the academic affairs committee chairs out.
Representative Knock?
I'm sorry, I was making a comment. I was sitting in the office yesterday, and some guy walked in, some random guy walked in the office, and he said, "Yo, you in UPUA?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm in UPUA." And I was no, but the idea was that he came to the UPUA office and talked to us about legal services. You know, it got shot down. It was sad. But he came to talk to me about legal affairs, and he was like, "Man, I really love the idea of legal affairs. I'm glad that y'all pursuing it. I didn't know what y'all were doing, so I saw legal services in the Collegian, and you know, you need to contact me because I'm really into it. And if there's anything I can do to help with legal services, then I'll do it. Now, there's probably nothing you can do, but the idea, no, I mean, the idea was that a lot of the things that, like, we take for granted the campus population that we have, we sit in this room all the time and say, oh yeah, they're so apathetic, they don't care what we're doing, but we only say that because we don't talk to them. Like, there are a lot of people out there who really do care what we're doing. They read the coverage about things like the rally and about legal services, and, you know, we sit here and say, oh, they're so apathetic, but there are people out there who really do care. And it's our job to do some outreach just to make sure, like, we can do a lot in this room, you know, and pass legislation and stuff, but we really do have to reach out to the students, make sure they don't get left behind.
Representative Carson?
I don't mean to sound like your father or even worse, your mother, but we've had a lot of people coming to the office lately. That's a great thing. We've had a lot of foot traffic, but the office is a pigsty, and it continues to be that way. And it's very disappointing. And I don't know who's throwing stuff around, who's leaving their dirty collegians and their dirty trades, but unfortunately we have a rather small office for the size of our organization. And it's starting to really irk me how messy it is. So if I do have OCD, so you may see me cleaning it. But if we could just try to pick up after ourselves, your parents would all be very happy. Thank you.
Mr. Crivello?
I've already did this in my committee board, so I'm going to yield the floor to Co-Chief Arbiter Pels to give a report for the board organization.
We're actually meeting with Barry Graham, and Jen, the SECC's advisor on Friday. So hopefully we can get things moving forward, find out exactly what legal issues we need to include within our new process, and kind of like stray away from the a lot of liability issues that the university is trying to prevent. So hopefully after Friday we can get things moving and we'll start seeing more from us.
Do you stand for questions? Is there any questions? Thank you. Other comments when we get in the order before we sing. Mr. Crivello?
Can I see, there's a lot of people I need to see after the meeting, but everyone on the hearing board, new representatives, the somewhat new representatives, and Josh, if you just stay for a couple seconds, that's the thank you.
Other comments? Representative Hines?
I just want to know, how old is Rob?
55.
In spirit or actually? No. I'm 22.
Other comments? Representative Lombard?
I'm just sending out an email about this, but for the people that have responded to my inquiry about who wants to pass this, we actually do have passes. I just read what the actual qualifications are for that, but they'll be from 3 a.m. on Saturday and Sunday to like 6 or maybe 8 a.m. So they're really like the red eye hours. That's usually when people and the dancers are getting most tired. There's not a lot of people there, so definitely come out during those times. And I'll send an email out to people that responded to my request.
Other comments? Who would like to lead the singing? Representative Wallace, please lead us in song.
I think we should stand.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Mr. Rowley. Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday, Ralph.
You have anything else? Okay, closing roll call. Secretary.
Michael Aldier. Here. Justin Bish. Here. Ruth County Raja.
Here.
Mark Cannon. Here. Ralph Carvello. Here. Dustin Dove. Here. Adam Rome.
Absent.
Pat Gordon. Nicholas Hahn. Here. Andrew Karasek. Here. Gavin Kearney. John King.
Here.
Mark Taylor. Sam Loner.
Here.
Becky Lombard. Here. Stephen Lucas. Here. Kelly McClure.
Here.
Sean Wood. Here. Samantha Miller. Christopher Morel. Dave Vaughn.
Present.
Joanne Olson.
Here.
Greg Plum. Brian Poland. Kelly Potter. Megan Quinn. Christian Ragland. Here. Valerie Russell.
Present.
Amy Sanders.
Here.
Philip Slusser. Present. Richard Shemansky. Here. Colleen Smith. Matthew Smith. Here. Michael Smith.
Here.
Ricardo Torres. Here. Ian Vickery. Here. Michael Wallace.
Present.
Cindy Wong. Nicole Dean.
Here.
Robin Hamlin.
Meeting stands adjourned.
Wally Palooza. Well,